Yes, sir.
Councilman Franklin, you good? Yes, sir. All right.
Can you hear me now?
So, yes, all right, good. All right, the time is 7 PM, and I call this, public hearing and special meeting of the Red Oak City Council to order. Let it be known, we do have a quorum. We have Councilman Brawley online, Councilman Drake online, Councilman Franklin in person, Councilman Goodwin in person, and absent is Councilman Wilson. Together in this room, we have City Secretary, our IT people. We have Casey Hargrove in attendance, Mr. Fuller. Online, we have Mr. Hartman and Mr. Williams. And notice has been duly posted in accordance to the Texas Government Code, Section 551. And so we are here to discuss business on this discussion of and consideration of approving a request by WP Legacy LTD to withdraw its petition for annexation of the 206.285 acres, more or less, out of the Gaz B. Lamar Survey, Abstract 657, and the James M. Riggs Survey, Abstract 902, the City of Red Oak, ETJ, Ellis County, Texas, parcel numbers 187-110, 187-112, and 189910 without prejudice, and 223.49 acres, more or less, out of the John Bell Survey, Abstract 61, and the William H. Morris Survey, Abstract 725, in the City of Red Oak, ETJ, Ellis County, Texas, parcel numbers 188002 and 179967 without prejudice.
Mayor, Council, I'm going to speak to items 1, 2, and 3 kind of as a group because they all go together. So this, if you'll remember, previous meeting, we set the public hearings. Mr. Hargrove has a property out in our ETJ, out by 813 and 983, which is on your maps. And he had intended to develop that, so he was going to bring that property into the city limits and annex it. Obviously, he can get more lots inside the city limits than he could with the minimum 1 acre in the county or in the ETJ. So that's kind of the process we're in. So Friday, we got a notice from Mr. Hargrove that, and I can't blame him or fault him whatsoever, that construction prices have skyrocketed to the point that he's not comfortable moving forward with the development on the project. The location of the project and the physical engineering challenges make it a very tight project to begin with. But with the construction industry and pricing going crazy right now, he did not feel comfortable moving forward with the development. So he had requested that we remove the item from annexation hearings and just put everything on hold. So, and number 1 on the agenda would do that if that's what you want to do. My recommendation for right now, and I'll get to the details, but right now I would recommend that we don't take action on item number 1, and we hold and conduct the public hearings on number 2 and number 3, and let the process proceed for now. because we have some options of what we can do. Some of you probably know, and some of you may not know, that we have that large area out to the southeast that is all in non-annexation agreements. Those were all statutory agreements that we were going to annex those properties, but the state law allowed that if they had agricultural exemptions and they weren't developing, that we could do an agreement with the property owners that we would not annex for at least 15 years unless they want to develop or turn in any type of development application or anything else, and then that triggers an automatic voluntary annexation, because otherwise it would have already been in the city and we would have had development control over it. So part of the issue here is those agreements are going to be running out, expiring in about 2.5 years. And we may not ever have another chance to annex the property, maybe ever, even if it's voluntarily on one of the parcels. Even if the Hargroves came back 4 years from now and said, hey, we're ready to develop, we want to develop, we want to bring it into the city, voluntarily annex it, we can't, because that group of non-annexation agreements out there would have expired. So what happens, you have to be, in order to annex a piece of property voluntarily, or even before, if it was involuntarily, you have to be contiguous to your existing city limits, or you have to be contiguous to one of these statutory non-annexation agreements, and it has to be inside the ETJ. Well, the north property, Mr. Hargroves, is contiguous to the city limits. So we would still have the ability down the road to annex that one because it's contiguous. The problem is the two parcels are separated by a little small subdivision in between them. So the southern property is not necessarily contiguous. So kind of what our options are right now, and kind of why I want to take some time to study it, talked with Bob at length today. He recommended that we just go ahead with the public hearings, see what we can figure out moving forward. I think he said we had till early July to come up with a conclusion. But right now, it would appear that we have at least 3 options. One is, since the petition and the applications and so forth, the development stuff began, we could go ahead and continue and annex the property even if he wanted to withdraw it. The other option is we could say, no, we understand he's not developing, we don't want to annex it, and we could allow him to withdraw that. But the third option, at least for now, is we could allow him to withdraw the, actually there's 4 options. We could allow him to withdraw the petition, but sign a brand new non-annexation agreement that would allow us to control that if it develops, sometime in the future after the existing one expires. So the property to the north, that'd be just fine. Property to the south, we got to figure out a way to make that contiguous. And Bob has some ideas that we need to go through and analyze. And Casey and I talked earlier today, and I don't know that they're ready to make a decision just yet either to do this. But the other option would be that we could go ahead and annex it and give him at least partial zoning so that he would know that he would get the density that he's looking for without tying him down to the actual development plan, because that development plan, even in good cost time period, is still pretty expensive. It's pretty elaborate with all the lakes and trails and so on and so forth. So that would allow him not to marry that development plan, but to know that he does have the option for the density. He would have to come back later with the development plan and go through the details. So that would be the 4th option. So we have at least right now, at least 4 options. But I think Bob has some more ideas. We need to study a little bit more on that southern piece. So for now, I would like to just not take action on item 1, have the public hearings on 2 and 3, and then as we come back for action in July, have wrapped up what we want to try to accomplish with it.
Is that property currently agricultural?
Yes.
How much more taxes would you pay on a thing?
The taxes wouldn't be a big issue. And Casey may want to speak to this more, but the tax bill is not going to be a significant factor. You know, it may be a couple $100 a year or something. The issue would be more about how marketable his property is in the future if he decides not to develop it ever and then sell it to somebody else. Then if it's in the city, then it would maybe be less marketable to someone who wanted to build 1-acre lots or bigger lots, and that might take that off the table. Not necessarily, but so that would be, from what we talked, that would be kind of the drawback, just bringing it in altogether. But that's something, you know, we just talked about it today, so we don't have an answer yet.
So essentially, the applicant is, I guess, trying to ride the market wave.
And it's a big wave.
Do you think the price of lumber will go down eventually? Because I don't see it.
Not in the foreseeable future.
Right.
I mean, it will eventually.
Right.
But whether it will within the 2-year time frame for the non-annexation agreement before it expires, I don't know.
Right.
And that's kind of why I want to at least leave our options on the table so that we have the option of doing any of those things until we forced to make a decision.
Well, why do we have to go on with the public hearing if we're not even going to consider it? Won't we have to repeat that if all of a sudden next year the prices bottom out? Do we have to go through that again?
Yeah. So if we allow him to withdraw his petition now, then we have no option for annexing it in the future. Unless it's within that 2-year time period and he brings back another petition to annex. And we still have the option, going through the public hearings, we still have the option all the way up to July to say, we're going to let you withdraw it, or we need to annex it, or we need to go with one of these other options.
Okay. All right, so nothing needs to be done on 1 then if we take no action? Or do I have to, I don't vote for that, a no action thing?
Right, unless somebody wants to discuss it and make a motion on it.
You can pull up a chair if you sit right there.
Casey Hargrove, 236 Stonegate Way here in Red Oak. Yeah, this is kind of a weird situation with the market the way it is, but we've been working on this deal for quite a while, and it's, in addition to the market problems right now, this particular project is pretty elaborate with the trails and the lakes that we had put out throughout the subdivision. Mainly, the first reason being is it's incredibly flat, so draining it in the first place is hard. You know, you could have a bunch of detention ponds, which I guess is the other possibility, but in this case, we went ahead and looked at the idea of digging it deeper down, digging a well, keeping a certain amount of water in it, maybe putting fish in it, put trails, and trying to turn it into an actual amenity, which is, I think, it'd be really nice and done really well. But now the problem is with the prices the way they are, my whole budget's going to get eaten up on just the streets, on just the water lines. I'm not going to have enough left over to do the nice part of it that I think is really going to make the point of this project one way or the other. But more specifically now to the, I guess the issue at hand with the chicken or the egg as it comes with the annexation, whether it's annexation or zoning first. I can understand the city's point of view. You don't want to let land get away that you could possibly have. But the part with my particular plan, you know, and this is what Todd was talking about, even if y'all did annex it, we want some flexibility, because if I don't do it, somebody's gonna maybe buy it, but they're gonna look at that and go, I don't want to do that. I want to go back to a more standard type of development. And so to that end, you know, if it was annexed from the city, at least have minimum density, but not, like Todd was saying, not necessarily married to that plan, because and it may be the case the prices go back down in a couple of years. I'd say, you know, let's go back and do the regular plan. And I would want to do that, but there's a good chance, you know, somebody else would come in and say, no, I want to maybe put storm sewer, or maybe want to develop it a different way. So, you know, if you do annex it in, we wouldn't want to be married to any specific plan at this point, especially given how crazy things are right now.
So you have no problem with being annexed on, it's not, you don't have a particular plan?
I would assume, having been in y'all's seat before and having the fiduciary duty you have, I would say you probably would have an obligation to do it. I understand that. I mean, you just generally, especially now since you don't have the power to involuntarily annex, you're going to try and annex everything you can get. So, you know, the other thing, though, that is going on outside of the 1 acre stuff, 1 acre would be what the county would require, but that single family, just down the road, they've allowed barn dominium duplexes, actual apartments on septic. And the subdivision that divides these two pieces is a literal trailer park. So, I mean, it's...
How many roads?
The what?
How many roads?
There's only, well, for the trailer park, there's just one coming off of 983, that's Sutton. And actually, that's another point, is on the north piece, and I think we were committing to this, we would be putting in basically a leg from future thoroughfare that would basically cut out Sutton and kind of the trailer park area. And I understand why you do it, but it will be costly on the development too. But I think it makes sense. I can see why we would want to do it. But that's another thing. In addition to the lakes and everything, there's some big costs on this. And again, you're out next to a trailer park. You're in the Ferris School District. You're way out there. You know, as time the market proves it up, I think it would do well. But initially, I'm too scared to go out too high on prices on something like this.
That answer your question?
Not really, but,
So,
it's hard on, as far as the great developers in the Red Oak area for many, many years, and more that. I want to make sure that we don't ruffle feathers or anything like that. You know what I mean? Well, I want him to continue to be looking favorably on us and the Red Oak community, because they've done so much development in the past.
and I think that's the goal. I mean, obviously, you all as a council and us as a city, we've got to take whatever steps we need to ensure the viability of our future. So, you know, we've got to do something. But, you know, I understand where Casey's at and Platt are at too. So I think, you know, if we can just get back together offline after the public hearings and try to start putting something together that will work, whether it's we annex it and give in the zoning, or we do a non-annexation agreement, or something else. I think there's probably some middle ground in there somewhere where we can try to save our future and allow him not to get hurt too badly either.
Well, for your information, Mr. Hargrove, his father done Coal Manor, Fox Hollow, Quail Run, and Oak Mountain over at 342 in Mobile. And they've done a heck of a lot in this area. He's been a big friend of the city.
So we have to do two separate public hearings?
Yes, you have two separate public hearings on those, assuming no one wants to take any action on number one.
You good, Councilman Brawley?
Yes, sir, no action.
You good, Councilman Drake?
No action.
All right, so we'll move on to item 2.
Yes, absolutely.
You good too?
Of course.
All right, item 2, conduct a public hearing regarding voluntary annexation of real property generally described as being 206.285 acres, more or less, out of the Gadsby Lamar Survey, Abstract 657, and the James M. Riggs Survey, Abstract 902, in the City of Red Oak, UTJ, Ellis County, Texas, parcel numbers 187-110, 187-112, 189-910. So this is a public hearing, and the time is 7:21. Mr. Hargrove, do you need to say anything else?
I don't think so. I guess just reiterate what I said. But to kind of answer what Ben's saying, I would completely understand why y'all would annex it at this point. But yeah, if you did, just ask that you left enough flexibility that we could, that if we didn't develop it, somebody else could or would fit their plan. So without getting too specific, whereas what I was going forward with was really specific. And again, that still may be what happens, but just leave that flexibility.
So just because you annex it, you don't have to have a development plan then, right?
No, you don't, even if you zone it, you don't have to have the development plan.
So does that give the person who might buy it, if y'all end up selling it, as much flexibility as they need to do to be able to then, because then they have to come with their documents.
Right, what it would do would ensure that they could get as many houses out of it as they could. That way they wouldn't come back and say, we're gonna require them to do 2-acre lots instead of 6/10, that kind of thing. So that way it allows him to, if he doesn't wanna market it to somebody else, to be able to show them you can do this, but you're gonna have to have your development plan approved moving forward.
That seems kind of good, I guess. That's but I agree, maybe some stuff offhand. Was there anybody that called in that wants to speak on this? Okay. Council, I guess I'll entertain a motion to close this public hearing. All right. That's
Second.
Councilman Franklin.
Drake, second.
Councilman Drake. All right. Those in favor of closing it?
Aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Raleigh, aye.
All right, so that's 4-0, and that is at 7:23.
And Mayor, real quick, Mr. Hartman, I noticed you're not unmuting. I take that to mean that you don't have anything to add.
Yeah, correct. I'm here if anybody's got questions for me.
Okay.
So, Mayor, this is Brawley. I think we absolutely have a responsibility to do what's best for the city. And I do think it involves annexing this property in some way or another. But we should consider that Mr. Hargrove has done a lot of work in the city and a lot of good for the city. So I'm not sure what kind of flexibility he needs specifically, but maybe he could get back with, the staff and they could work through that. I mean, before we actually take action on this.
Sure. Yeah, so this is just the first reading of that public hearing, so there's not any action specifically on those. We're just having a public hearing. And I agree, and I think that's what Mr. Fuller was wanting to do, was to get together that makes it mutually beneficial for Mr. Hargrove and also the city. And I think everybody here would agree that, you know, if we have to, just like Mr. Hargrove said, that if we can annex property voluntarily, but not string him to where if he chooses not to develop it, it's not gonna, it's still within the city, but it's not gonna hurt whoever might buy it or anything like that. So I think all the council would agree to that.
Yes. May I have a question for staff?
Sure.
How would this area, being annexed or not, how would this allow people long term?
So that area, within the comprehensive plan has always been planned for the larger half acre, 1 acre and up lots. So what he's wanting to do does align with our future land use plan and so forth.
Okay. So it'll benefit both sides?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. Council, good? Can we move on to item 3?
So far.
All right. Item 3, conduct a public hearing regarding voluntary annexation of real property generally described as being 223.493 acres, more or less, out of the John Bell Survey, Abstract 61, and the William H. Morris Survey, Abstract 725, in the city of Red Oak, ETJ, Ellis County, Texas, parcels number 188002 and 179967. So this is a public hearing also, and the time is 7:27. Mr. Hargrove, would you care to speak anything about this?
Yeah, I think that we're talking more where this is going. It may be something along the lines of, and Hartman could speak more to what was actually being proposed was really elaborate on one end. On another end, I was looking to not do concrete flumes down the middle of the ditches. I didn't have money for that. Taking away some of the quote standard things that are required. Also on screening, we were doing basically lakes off of the thoroughfares, so more of a natural screening instead of the brick wall type screening. So those were kind of the requests that was on that specific plan. So I don't know if this would be a hybrid or something, but it would be almost the request would be, I guess, approve that, or along with, I guess that would almost be a development plan. That's the specific. But if not that, the minimum density, and then whoever would have to come back and actually propose their development plan. That way, it goes back to the regular thing of, okay, things calm down and that plan looks good. Well, then we can just, go right back to it like nothing ever happened. Or if somebody else in the future comes back and wants to change it, they could, something along those lines.
So is that concrete flume, is that city, or is that the county?
I think the county now requires that too. It never used to be a requirement for anybody. Red Oak had it. In fact, Cole Manor is the first one that's, I think, ever done it. We had to sort of make it up as we went with that. And they're nice, and I understand the point. You're trying to hold the bottom. It's not having to do with the volume of drainage. It's having to do with keeping little puddles here and there. So I understand the point of it, but something out there is so flat. Part of the reason we're doing the lakes and everything is basically to take the focus off basically the open ditches. So we basically squeeze those down to very minimum and putting all the water into these lakes and trails. So, basically trying to save money by not putting it in on the flumes there, along with the screening, and focusing on trails and landscaping and things like that.
All right. Did anyone call in for this public hearing? Okay. I'm just trying to cover my ground. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to close this public hearing at 7:30. That's Councilman
Second.
Goodwin, Councilman Craig, sorry. All right, those in favor of closing?
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Raleigh, aye.
All right, that's 4-0 to close. Thank you, Mr. Hargrove. Item 4, consider adoption of resolution number 21-042R, the City Council of the City of Red Oak, Texas, authorizing the city manager to approve an expenditure in the amount not to exceed $243,180 for the reconstruction and resurfacing of various roads located in Red Oak, Texas, through an interlocal government contract with Ellis County Commissioner Precinct 4. Mr. Williams, is this what we had discussed the other night at council?
Yes, sir, Mayor. Shortly after our meeting last Monday, I met with spoke with the Precinct 4 County Commissioner, Kyle Butler, and he's all on board. The caveat to us getting the work done is that he needs to be able to start roughly the first week in June. So it's fortuitous that that this special meeting is being held because just because of the, I think our next meeting would be the 14th, and we'd miss that window for the county to be able to do the work. So, but to that point, this item is, seeking approval for the resolution that would allow us to rebuild and resurface Pansy, Sunflower, Butterfly, and utilizing the county resources through that established interlocal agreement. So
I didn't hear any stain back in that list.
He'll pay for it himself, don't worry.
You're all right, that's not IDC, right?
Yeah, that's, IDC will pay for that.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So, council, do you have any questions? Do you remember what I was talking about the other night? All right.
Did he check with the other county commissioner over on precinct 1?
Yes, sir, I did. I actually emailed him a couple of times. He responded once back, Commissioner Stinson, but he never confirmed their availability. He didn't follow up on that second email. So, and after that, since then, we had that second meeting, and just based on council's feedback during that meeting, I didn't go back to Commissioner Stinson. I just moved forward with Precinct 4. So
that's okay. I think, Mr. Williams, anytime you can hit them up to do some of that work, you can hit them up anytime, and we'll always come back and have a special meeting to get that taken care of if you need to. So, all right, entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 21-042R. Councilman Franklin.
Second, Raleigh.
Councilman Brawley, second. Any other discussion? Entertain a vote, please, for approval of that.
Drake, aye.
Raleigh, aye.
Nay.
All right. So that's 3-1 with the horses voting no. So, anything else that we need to handle, Mr. Fuller?
I think that's it for tonight.
Okay. All right.
Tomorrow should go much quicker.
Okay.
Since we already have all the info.
Yeah. So, just a reminder to council, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. also. And entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Councilman
Second,
Goodwin.
Drake.
Councilman Franklin. All right. Those are going home.
Aye.
Raleigh, aye.
Drake, aye.
All right, that's 4-0. The time is